Hi there, I'm George Michel, amateur musicological sleuth, obsessed with tracking down the influence of Johann Sebastian Bach on composers and musicians since his day to ours. It's an amazing story of 250 plus years of transmissions, transcriptions, and transformations, and it's still going on. No other classical composer of the past, whether it be Mozart, Beethoven, or Wagner, has exhibited such long-lasting magnetism, captivating the imaginations of so many later artists. It's a long and fascinating story, and I plan to tell some of it in this series of podcasts, each of which focuses on what I'm calling the afterlives of one of Bach's famous works. Today we'll be listening to one of Bach's earliest pieces, an epic organ work that he wrote soon after returning from visiting Dietrich Buxtehude in the winter of 1705-06. This great organist was based in Lübeck on the Baltic, which is where the 20-year-old Bach traveled, supposedly on foot, from Arnstadt in central Germany, more than 400 kilometers away. Bach was especially interested in the organ music that Buxtehude wrote based on a theme in the pedals that was to be repeated obstinately, hence the name ostinato for this bass theme. Meanwhile, in the keyboards above, the music developed with no repetition. Bach took this idea of static versus movement in a single piece of music and wrote a mighty work of this type that surpassed anything by Buxtehude. Because the ostinato comprises short note versus long note movements, dum-dum, dum-dum, this type of rhythm, progressing up and down a minor scale, it resembles the slow Spanish dance known as a Passacaglia. Here is the organist, Andrea Marcon, playing Bach's ostinato at the beginning of his Passacaglia. After announcing his ostinato, Bach introduces stumbling, downward suffering motifs in the upper keyboards. Could these represent his arduous journey to Lübeck? Soon, the music lifts off, as if Bach has arrived, even though the ostinato continues without a break. So when you listen to this music, check the lower part of the organ sound, and you will hear dum, 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 which continues throughout. After 20 repetitions of the ostinato, each supporting a different variation on top, Bach plunges into a fugue. His theme repurposes the first notes of the ostinato, dum, 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 which he juxtaposes against an energetic counter-theme to create a vigorous fugue. This is how it begins. The epic drama of Bach's Passacaglia has always been recognized. Attracted to its rigorous construction that combined repetition with variation simultaneously, composers in later years wrote their own passacaglias that mimicked Bach's format, though in the language of their own day. Let's begin with Anton Webern, an ardent follower of Arnold Schoenberg's atonal system, who began his orchestral career in 1908 by composing a passacaglia as a memorial for his mother, who had died the previous year. Webern's ostinato is at first heard on a gloomy trumpet, over which a flute plays a mournful phrase, then in the lower strings with a clarinet above, and finally in soaring strings. If Webern's Passacaglia is intended as a portrait of a mother and son, then this must have been an exceptionally intense relationship. Webern wrote his Passacaglia at the age of 25, inspiring Berthold Goldschmidt to compose an orchestral one of his own. Though awarded the prestigious Felix Mendelssohn Prize in 1925, the political situation in Germany was changing, and there was little hope of a performance of a work by a 23-year-old Jewish artist. The works had to wait 70 years before it was premiered in England, where Goldschmidt had fled the Nazis. On this occasion, he remembered that his Passacaglia could have been conceived in Buxtehude's church in Lübeck. Even so, it is Bach's model that dominates, as is obvious from the format of Goldschmidt's ostinato, which begins like one of Bach's with a stepped theme in triple time, again, dum-dum, dum-dum. As we can hear in this extract, Goldschmidt achieves considerable monumentality by contrasts between the different orchestral sonorities. Among other orchestral passacaglias of this era is the one by Paul Hindemith that he provided in 1938 for a choreographic stage work based on the life of St. Francis called Nobilissima Visione. In the concluding scene, which serves as a final proclamation of the saint's vision on La Verna, Hindemith offers a noble passacaglia with the usual dum-dum, dum-dum ostinato in the brass pitted against the strings. Hindemith was not the only one to import an orchestral Passacaglia into a stage work. In 1945, in his first great opera success, Peter Grimes, Benjamin Britten inserted a Passacaglia interlude of intense drama. Here is an extract with a hopping ostinato, as ever, in the triple time, carrying chilling string passages anticipating the tragic circumstances that will unfold in the scenes to come. Here we listen to a 1986 recording by the New Zealand Symphony Orchestra under Maya Fredman. We now come to a completely different take on Bach's Passacaglia. This is Ron Nelson's Homage to Bach, written in 1993 to showcase the outstanding woodwind and brass sections of the United States Air Force Band. While the music veers from abrasive outbursts to delicate solos, Nelson's Passacaglia theme is always audible, as in this extract with high woodwinds playing the theme before being submerged in the lower brass. As we can hear, its triple rhythm and stepped outline, again dum-dum, dum-dum, recall Bach's ostinato without actually replicating it. The work's vivid scoring has earned Nelson's Passacaglia a regular spot in the band repertoire, here performed in 1994 by the Texas All-State Symphonic Band, conducted by Jean Bourgeois. Let's now return to Bach's Passacaglia, not in the original version, but in one of the many orchestral arrangements that were made over the years, like this one by Ottorini Respighi in 1930. As you can hear, Bach's variations build up in mighty symphonic utterances, thanks to Respighi's mastery of orchestration that match Bach's dynamic figurations. In this performance, Andrew Litton is conducting the Royal Philharmonic at one of the London proms in 2010. That Bach's Passacaglia could be taken up by Jimi Hendrix, widely regarded as one of the most revolutionary figures in the history of pop music, is a testament to the work's persuasive appeal. Though not classically trained, Hendrix was by no means ignorant of past traditions. As he complained on one occasion, "I don't want anybody to stick a psychedelic label around my neck. Sooner Bach and Beethoven." In fact, Bach does make an appearance in a breathtaking extemporization on the Passacaglia ostinato, recorded in London 3 years before the guitarist's death in 1970. Here Hendrix transforms Bach's triple-beat pulse into an urgent 4-beat melody played on the bottom string, thereby injecting Bach with his own manic energy. With this window into the frenzied realm of pop, we've come to the end of this podcast, which has explored different incarnations of Bach's majestic Passacaglia. I hope you've enjoyed listening to how Bach's unique musical signature spawned pieces of such variety, from melodramatic proclamations to deeply felt inner feelings and even light-hearted, showy entertainments. If you want to hear and learn more, you need only tune into the next episode.